You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle. Hey everybody, Jim Chester here. This is a Chiro Hustle morning edition, and I have Dr. Larry Goodman with me. Actually, it's an afternoon edition, but we didn't push the go button for the past 30 minutes. We've just been pre-interview chatting about his new book. I filled him in a little bit about our amazing sponsor today, who is Close for Chiro, and that's Dan, Jen, and Sean. So thank you so much for being with us since day one, Close for Chiro. If you guys want to know how to get the yes with less stress, reach out to one of them and get into one of their boot camps, and stick with that because they teach you how to close for cash. So thank you once again to our sponsor today, Close for Chiro. And as we were talking, Dr. Larry, you have a new book that you are coming out with. But before we get into the new book, you're coming in from where?
Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida. And how long ago did you move down there?
38 years.
Boy, that's I just turned 40 for everybody out there, October 1st. So if you guys did not send me a happy birthday present, I can still accept those. And I'm coming in from Grand Junction, which is in the Grand Valley on the western slope of Colorado. I moved here almost a year ago so I could get away from the static and noise of the big city. I just moved here so I could hear the birds chirp and to kind of simplify life a little bit. And I'm sure that's one of the reasons why you moved to where you are.
That's the truth. I made that decision. I was on a Hobie Cat sailing off Dinner Key. It was a beautiful sunny January day. And I had the epiphany that if I lived here, I could do that anytime I wanted. It's proven to be true.
So are you a sailor then?
I do everything the beach.
Okay.
I mean, everything the beach.
Well, that's cool. And Florida must have treated you well.
Very much so. It's also been a very favorable state for chiropractic as far as the licensing act. It got licensed among the first states in the country, has a broad scope of practice that lets the chiropractor practice the way the chiropractor is passionate about practicing.
Before we get into that, I know we have a question that's kind of a hot button trigger question on trends in chiropractic coming up in our interview. But before we get to there, let's talk about your book. What is the title and what was the impetus behind it?
So the title of the book is Fridays with Goodman. And it was actually co-written between myself and my 9 a.m. Friday morning client. And as to the impetus to writing it, he literally sprung it on me. I was in between clients and I got a call from Martin. He's my creative genius guy. And he called me from Barnes & Noble and he said, hey, Larry, I've got the title of the new book. And I went, book? What book? And he said, Fridays with Goodman. And I said, book? What book? And so the impetus really was his experience in transformation, in being a client of mine over the course of, I guess at that point, it was about a year and a half. And we still keep working and still keep growing.
That's really cool. It's nice to be able to have a vision and then bring it to fruition and to actually get it done. So if people wanted to get a copy of your book, where would you send them?
It'll be at Amazon.com.
Okay.
It'll also be available through the website, goodmanfactor.com. Awesome.
So becoming an author, let's talk more about chiropractic now, and let's switch the conversation over to you as the chiropractor. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the concept of being social on social and what that means. So let's go into you as the chiropractor. Why did you decide that chiropractic was the right choice for you to become a doctor?
So I was asthmatic and allergic and lived on antihistamines and cortisone.
Oh.
I was a student of physiological psychology at Stony Brook as an undergraduate. And there was this course on sensation and perception, which is all about how the nature, the structure of your nervous system determines your perception of reality. And I had this light bulb moment where I thought maybe what's going on with me is my nervous system is confused and doesn't know that it's okay to breathe normally and be healthy. And I started looking around to find what kind of medical specialist there was that treated the nervous system that way. And I found out that there wasn't a neurologist. It wasn't a rheumatologist. I found out that there were these people called chiropractors. And at that point, all I knew about chiropractors was there were some of these doctors actually in practice in my neighborhood, and there were shingles on the street, lots of cars parked around there, and you don't go there. And literally that's what I knew. And so when I walked into the first chiropractic office, I had all the same kind of doubts and fears and concerns that the typical patient does. And lo and behold, in a very short time, I started to get well without drugs and surgery. And I come from a very long line of medical people. And so when I started to really feel well and I went for my annual physical, my family internal medicine doc listened to me breathing and he said, "You sound great. What are you taking?" And I said, "I'm not taking anything." I went to the chiropractor. He got up, walked over, closed the door to the treatment room, said, "So what's he been doing to you?" And I told him. And he didn't understand it at all. And at that point, I didn't really either. But I knew right then and there that I was got to find out some more about this this chiropractic thing is what it looked like to me at that point. And now, all these years later, it's become crystal clear to me that A, I was born to be a chiropractor, and B, I have great awe and respect for the healing of the body. And even though I'm a perpetual student of all things natural, all things healing, I can only begin to scratch the surface of really understanding how it is that the body that God made heals itself. And I'm awed by it daily.
Fascinating story, Larry. Thank you for sharing to everybody out there. I know that there's probably a few people out there that might not even be in the chiropractic world that will watch this, that will say, wow, that's still relevant today as to that story that you experienced when you were first getting into the chiropractic world. So I know that there's people out there that will listen that will definitely get some value out of that story, because I did. And I think that to today, people still don't really understand the big idea behind chiropractic, and it takes us to be able to, discover for that the power to tell that story. I think that that's something really special, just having, the self-esteem and the quality of experience through it to want to share that with other people. And that's really the power of the testimonial. And before we jump into the next topic, let's discuss this idea of being social on social. And maybe you can answer a little bit better. How long were you watching Chiro Hustle and, being on the platform before we start interacting?
Not very long. I'm how do I say this? The whole notion of being social on social, when I started practicing chiropractic, and I won't go into the whole legacy of it, but to say social media didn't exist would be an understatement. The concept of social media didn't exist. The idea that we could be doing as routinely and easily as we are what we're doing right now. In 1964, at the New York World's Fair, they had from, I think it was New York Telephone or American Telephone, AT&T, they had this thing that someday in the future, you'd be able to be on a telephone talking to somebody else and actually see them while you spoke to them. And it was sitting at this big console. And it seemed that even at that point that, this is never going to happen. And if it does, it's going to be some crazy time in the future. And to have it be now, excuse me, that it's as routine as it's gotten to be, that we can do this and communicate with people literally all over the world, A, in real time, and B, with these messages being able to be recorded and shared on demand, it's just a remarkable thing.
Well, that's something that I wanted to interject with quickly. And what I will tell everybody out there is that if you do start creating content like this, and it is something that has magnetic appeal to it, and then it does become evergreen. So evergreen is a terminology used to say that it never wilts, it never dies. It's continuously a green product that when somebody watches this in a time capsule episode, maybe 10 years down the line, maybe 20 years down the line, they'll see this episode that will always be evergreen as the quality that it was produced today.
Well, the interesting thing about that, I was on Ed Osborne's podcast a while back, and much to my surprise, I had been following him for about 3 or 4 months at the time. And to my amazement, he'd been following me for 3 years on Instagram. So that's the other thing I think that's so amazing about how these social media platforms are interactive, is that even though they don't communicate directly one with another, most people today, while they may have their preferred platform, most people are, I guess you'd say, they partake of the smorgasbord of social media.
And, you know, that's one of the questions that we like to ask people on our actual episode that you're going to be doing later today with us. You're going to be, I think, episode 82 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. And we put one of those out every week, and we put out live interviews every week. And we basically keep the cultural conversation of chiropractic alive and free, with including the construct of subluxation-based conversation, and we include the construct of innate intelligence. So we live on the tenets of old school chiropractic philosophy, yet we know it's 2018, and if we don't keep free speech alive and well in chiropractic by having the cultural conversation continuously happening, then somebody else is going to fill in that void, and then they're going to own the cultural conversation of chiropractic. So we believed it was something of our right to be able to go out there as journalists and as filmmakers and as creatives and create content that would touch people and say, okay, we need to share this. We need to be proud of what chiropractors are doing and to keep people from drugs and surgery. Not saying, as we know, Larry, that there isn't a place and time for people to have interjections, because there is a limitation of matter. And that's, I believe, number 6 on the 33 principles, that if we do have these 33 principles, and that is number 6, then there is a limitation of matter. And people that are under chiropractic care, they still die. You know, like it is a truth that even the healthiest person has a shelf life and they go away. But the quality of life and the benefits of human performance under chiropractic care is really the reason why I believe that we have started this show and why it's been as successful as it is, because people are starving for the truth of what chiropractic really is. Even though that the profession might be confused, we need to deliver a message that is not of a confusing tone to the people that need the services.
I think that part of the reason why the confusion has come about is that you should pardon the expression, the old days, the only way people decided to become a chiropractor as a career choice was by having a personal experience. It has become such that many chiropractors start school even without having experienced chiropractic care. And they do it, I won't speak for anyone else except to say that I've encountered people who decided to become chiropractors because they couldn't get into medical school, they couldn't get into dental school, they couldn't get into podiatry school, they couldn't, whatever. And not that you can't still have your own epiphany, because when you start to work with a patient hands-on and you see things take place that even all these years later, there's not a day goes by that when I give someone an adjustment, I'm not awed by what takes place.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Close for Chiro, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Universal Traction Systems, Vantage Point Marketing, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Chiro Thin, Dr. Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, and Everest Chiropractic Bootcamp. Let's hustle.
Really just awed by it. And so you can still have that happen. And that's really the importance of the message that you're putting out there. And I think it's also especially pertinent now because from what I understand, there are a couple of the chiropractic colleges that are attempting to remove the subluxation concept from their curriculum. And if that happens, I don't know what'll happen except to say that my mentor, John DeMartini, is fond of saying that maximum evolution occurs at the borders of support and challenge. And so while that challenge is taking place, there is also the support taking place of programs like yours and people really developing the level of their art of adjustment and their art of body and spinal analysis to heighten the skill and the science to delivering ever more precise adjustments.
That's so true. And, as we have this conversation, it's a cultural positioning now. And I do think that when we do have these abilities to put on a show like this, or we have the ability to, believe in something greater than ourselves, we have come into an era where we do have a lot of opportunities to be excellent. And we have a lot of opportunities to be overwhelmed. But I think that as the more that we focus on something that works and we stick to it, we refine it, we make it great. I think that's really what chiropractic has done. And they stuck with it. They stuck with the science, the philosophy, and the art. And something that I really believe in the chiropractic storyline is that everybody's body that comes under chiropractic care is their own. And it's not, you can't duplicate a human's body, and their symptomatology that they're experiencing are the type of, whether it's pain, whether it's anxiety, whether it's, something internally with our organ system, whatever the symptomatology or the body might be experiencing, that is very unique to an individual. So to say that we can go out there and do evidence-based or research-based that, everybody's going to respond to this many adjustments under this type of protocols, it's just not true. And I think that the more that we do get people under consistent care, which is my idea that you should get checked and adjusted regularly once a week for the rest of your life, that's the type of care that I think that the chiropractic profession would do wise to adopt. And to not only say that we need to check people for vertebral subluxation, but we need to adjust when necessary is a very powerful statement.
100%.
So as we continue our conversation on the Chiro Hustle live stream here, what is trending right now in chiropractic? And is there something that you like to discuss on those topics?
Well, I think as we were just speaking about, what's trending right now are incredible developments in spinal models and systems of evaluating the spine and nervous system for function, and systems of adjusting the spine and the body that literally didn't exist 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 years ago. Without touting any of them in particular, there are, now that we have computers, now that we have the ability to do complex mathematical calculus, there are people that are developing mathematical models of the spine and then applying physics and computer calculus to determining ever more precise whole body adjustive techniques, upper cervical adjustive techniques, such that literally, based on the passion of the doctor and where he chooses to focus his attention and intention, I wouldn't say there's a chiropractic technique for everybody, but there's a chiropractic technique for everybody. And if you haven't found the one that inspires you, my suggestion is that you keep looking. And that's really one of the things that's trending, is the desire to stay inspired. I was at license renewal conference over the weekend, and there were some people there who noticed that I was not the youngest guy in the room and asked me what I attributed my continued passion to. And I told them I am dedicated to lifelong learning. And that's learning about all things, but in particular, all things about the body as a self-healing mechanism.
You know, the things you shared with me touched me in a certain way, because I believe that, you know, we can shake a million hands, we can read 1,000 books, and we can travel vastly. But the one thing that brings us all back to center is lifelong learning. And I think that that's something that you experience with opening your front door in the morning and going out and experiencing the sunshine to the point where you feel comfortable enough that you can put your body to rest and go to bed at night. I think that lifelong learning is one of those core values that comes with us over time. And we have to learn to appreciate that balance of learning to continuously grow. And I don't want to live the same day over and over every day. So I think that that's really cool that, you know, that's something that you really value is lifetime learning. And I think anybody out there listening, including our good buddy, I'm going to do a pattern interrupt here with Ethan Danberg. That guy's always learning. He's always leveling his game up, helping more people. I've had a lot of love this morning from Kat Sarah. She is always on the trend. She's watching all the people that are have their fingers on the pulse of this beautiful profession of chiropractic. And she is basically watching the unfolding of a media generation of people like myself that are out there sharing the cultural conversation of chiropractic and allowing other people to get dipped in that conversation as well. My buddy Jeff Spradley says happy birthday, even though that was like my birthday is October 1st, but I still am 40. So let's not forget that. So I'm at a milestone year. And then Mike Tokash, he is with Imaging Services. If you guys want the best in the business when it comes to x-ray, reach out to Imaging Services and Mike Tokash. And then we have Ruben Armando Contreras Jimenez down in Mexico City that is on the live with us today. And thank you. We will be showing our movie, Chiropractic the Documentary, down in Mexico soon. So we're going to do a second film tour down to Mexico. Anyways, Larry, I know that we're coming up on the edge of our time together today. We're rolling into the new year together, man. What are your goals and aspirations as we come into 2019 together?
Well, I'm about to launch my new signature program called Your Goodest Life. And it's a program designed to help people align their attitudes and their lives with their values. And it's not exclusively for chiropractors. It's for anybody who wants to experience their full potential in all 7 areas of life. And it's the culmination of the last 38 years of me being a student of things related to the universal laws of success, health, and happiness. And so that's going to launch. And my practice coaching continues to grow and evolve. And that coaching is really about showing people how they can live and have a thriving practice that's aligned with their values and aligned with their principles, where they get to show up authentically, where they get to answer to the prospective patient's values authentically and really have their goodest life.
I think that's really nice that you can lay all that out for someone and to help them to position themselves to thrive as the new year opens up. And I know a lot of times people will go out there on a limb and they'll say, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do that. And I think that a lot of those are like hollow statements to themselves, and they echo only for so long. So the best way to do that for anybody that wants long-term success is to reverse engineer where you want to be and then develop a strategy to get to there and to know what it's going to take on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis in order to have your goodest life.
And have a coach and have accountability and have a team and be part of a tribe like what you're creating here with Chiro Hustle. Is a tribe of like-minded individuals who can support each other, because I'd be lying if I said to you, I greet every day at 100% maximum enthusiasm. But very shortly, if I find myself a little bit wavering, I have resources, I have people, I have audio, I have video, I have people, I have my own tribe to help me to take a look and see what the challenge is that fluctuation is causing me to pay attention to.
So you hit the nail on the head. I've been waiting 2 years to tell myself I could subordinate to somebody and take them as my coach, and I finally did that. I've recently invested in Ed Osborne that started the Chiropractic Philanthropist as my coach. So you guys are going to be in store for a lot of amazing things coming from Jim Chester and Chiro Hustle, but we're also going to be leveraging my ability to teach more people the things that I know how to do to generate new patients and new clients for chiropractic offices. And there's a whole suite of other things that we'll be working on. But I just want to say once again, Dr. Larry, thank you for making some time today and sharing some of your insight on your career and your new book and your coaching programs that you do. And I just want to say thank you again to Close for Chiro, Jen, Dan, and Sean. If you guys want to get the yes with less stress and close people for cash and make sense of it and own the cultural conversation inside of your clinic, reach out to those guys. The website is below Larry and myself, closeforchiro.com. So Larry, is there anything I didn't ask you before we close out that you would like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, just one thing. There is in everybody an inner good man or good woman. The reason why I call my company the Goodman Factor is because that's my truth. And what stands in the way of you showing up and shining is just some stuff and story that you bought into, that you came to believe, that you're keeping. You're keeping it alive. And it's amazing how simple, with the right guidance, with asking the right questions and finding out what's stopping you, you can push yourself and unleash your inner good man or woman. And so I invite people to do that, either with me or on your own, but just don't quit before the miracle happens.
So before we jump, what does it look like if somebody joins the Goodman Factor from A to Z? How long is your program to develop them into finding their clarity in those 7 parts of their life?
So my program is evergreen also. I've got a 90-day program for literally anyone. Your Goodest Life is a 2-day program that's evergreen to the 90-day program. And then I've got some programs specifically for the chiropractor that'll take them from wherever it is they are, from startup to wherever they are, thinking they want to transition to another career, even sorting out what that would be, and everything in between. And it's personalized. It's done both telephonically and virtually. And it's really designed by you. Because the first question I always ask is, what do you want? And the second question is, and what are you willing to do to get there?
Hey, well, thank you for sharing with our group today. We have a quote here from Jeff Arnell closing out. Kat Sarah says, love everything about this live. In order to get where you want to be, you have to let go of where you are. And that's Peter Amlinger. So we have a Peter Amlinger quote to close out our session today, Larry. Be on the lookout for Dr. Goodman's episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. He'll be episode, I believe, 82. So we're going fast and furious to our way to hit 100 episodes. And is it okay if I go and close out now, Larry?
It's been an honor and a privilege. I hope everybody got some value. And yes,
I believe we did. And we have such a loyal following that appreciates what we do. And like I always say, guys, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll catch you on the next live episode. Thank you, Close for Chiro. Thank you, Dr. Goodman. If you guys want more information from Dr. Goodman, send him a direct message, and I'm sure he'll help you with any questions that you might have for him. So have a good day, okay?
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.